Grr, arg.
Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode of the Mixtape Podcast, the podcast dedicated to examining film from a writer's perspective. I'm your host for this time around. My name is Marcelo Inostroza, joined as always by my fellow co-pilot, Dean Stark. And on today's edition of the show, we will be discussing the 2022 film, The Fabelmans, directed by possibly the best director of my generation, Steven Spielberg. So, as I do every week, I will kick it over to Dean to take us through this film.
The Fabelmans was also written by Steven Spielberg and Tony Kushner. And if you don't know the premise of The Fabelmans, it is this. Growing up in post-World War II era Arizona, Sammy Fabelman aspires to become a filmmaker, but soon discovers a shattering family secret. So the opening scene, January 10th, 1952, New Jersey, a young boy, Sammy, he's about 7 years old, and he's standing outside the cinema with his parents. His parents are played by Michelle Williams and Paul Dano, and fuck me, watching Paul Dano playing a middle-aged father killed me. It fucking killed me. I was like, what is happening? The world is gone on. This guy's like the Riddler, right? This guy, I was just like, this makes no fucking sense. Like, why? Why is he doing this? This makes me feel fucking old, man. Fucking middle-aged man. Fucking, and Paul Dano is 39 years old. Like, like a stab in my heart. Anyway. So they're his parents and they're trying to get him, come on, it's his very first movie and he's scared and they're like, there's nothing to be scared of. It's a big screen. It's just there's people on the screen, there's stuff happening, but they're not going to get you. And he's like, okay. So he goes in and he's watching his first movie and he's completely transfixed. He's just like, what is this? What's going on? Kind of like when I saw my first movie in the cinema, I was like, whoa, this is like a whole new world for me. So the scene we see him watching is a huge train crash and he's transfixed. He cannot, like, you can see it. This 7-year-old actor, you can just see it on his face. He's just such a good actor. And when he gets home, he asks them from a train set for Hanukkah. Can I have a train set? Because he's just seen this train crash and they get it for him. And they set it up for him kind of just like in the movie. And then he starts making the train crash just like in the movie, trying to emulate it. And then his mum gives him a film camera so he can film the train crash so he doesn't have to keep making the train crash over and over again, so he can just watch back the film. Those are a couple of the opening scenes, but I just kind of condensed it because that's kind of, for me, the opening, the setup. He's transfixed by movies. He's gotten his first camera. His mum understands his world more than his dad. His dad, Paul Dano, is an engineer and he doesn't really understand the movie world, which we'll get into. But I thought that was a solid opening scene to kind of move the film in the direction that it needed to go. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually love this opening scene because it was very reminiscent to my sort of eureka moment of going to see a film and realizing that I wanted to be a storyteller. Unfortunately, at the time, it took me years to figure out what kind of storyteller I was going to be. But I love the moment when Sammy Fabelman is so nervous to actually watch the movie and Paul Dano explains to him how a projector works, and I absolutely love that moment. And I love the moment when Michelle Williams turns him around and he says, "Movies are dreams, doll." And I'm like, wow. Yeah. Jennifer Lynn Lee. Wow. I mean, that moment distilled to me what kind of why, in a roundabout way, I love the process of making movies and why I make movies, because movies are dreams. Movies are things that aren't real. And I'm fascinated with this whole milieu of the magic of movies and the majesty of movies. But also I just really quickly, I like the moment when they're in the theater, and since it's in the 40s, I believe, in New Jersey, the
50s.
Theater is 50s. Thank you. The theater is filled with people, and I love the fact that there are no phones anywhere, and it's this giant auditorium, and they're watching the scene, the train crash, and like Dean said, this gorgeous, beautiful kid, his eyes are like saucers, and they're transfixed on the train crash. And to move forward a little bit, the fact that Sammy Fabelman wanted to recreate that feeling, but he didn't know how to do it, and his mom figured out that he's trying to create he's trying to recreate the train crash because he's trying to gain some sense of control over it. And and then that leads to something else that Dean will, I'm sure, we'll talk about in a moment here. But those are just some reasons of why I love the opening to this film so much, and the little scenes that Dean threw in there as well.
So Sammy watches what he's filmed with the train crashing, and he's done it from multiple angles. So you can see
Yep.
that usually with a little kid, when he films, it's just like one shot, but he's filmed it from
Nope.
every single possible angle. So you know he's got kind of a director's brain. And so he goes into his closet and he watches it projected onto the wall. And he brings his mum in, and his mum watches it, and he's hooked. He cannot stop watching this movie. And then there's a montage of Sammy making like silly little films because he's 7 years old with his siblings. He's got, I think, what has he got? Three sisters, I think.
Three sisters, yeah, his three
Yeah,
sisters.
and
Yep.
he's directing them, and they're just kid
It's
films,
so good.
and his mum's walking in and they're doing stupid shit, and she's just like, "Oh my God." Like, but it's funny because he's getting his momentum, he's getting into his groove, he loves it, he wants to it's just like it's a really good scene, and I love montage scenes because they deliver like a lot of information and a lot of time in a condensed amount of film. But yeah, I really liked it. I really liked it.
I listen, I love that because of all the reasons that Dean said. Because first of all, I never had the opportunity to make films with my friends and make films with my sisters because I didn't have any sisters. So anytime when I watch a movie that is that is about someone who who wants to make film and who strives to do the impossible like me and Dean do, that's something that just gravitates towards me. But I love how I love how his passion just grows. I love how he deals with justifying his passion to his family later on in the film.
So the following year, Sammy and his sisters are yelling outside, there's a tornado outside. And the mum goes to look and she's having a massive fight with Paul Dano. And there is one like in the distance. And she tells them to get in the car. And then she drives towards it like any good mother would. And the kids are all excited. And then once they get really close to the tornado, like they can see like everything's flying everywhere. And the kids actually ask, like, is this safe? And she says, of course it's safe. I'm your mother. And then it kind of dawns on her, maybe this is not a great idea. And I think the reason she did that is just to get away from her husband because she was having a huge argument with him. But this is now I don't know if this is intended. The mother, Michelle Williams, it, I don't know if I don't know if because this is Steven Spielberg's life. I don't know if this was his mum, but the character that she's playing is very cardboard. It's very cartoonish. It's very there's no depth. And she's crazy. She's clearly got some mental illness. Paul
She's
Dano, the
manic.
husband, yeah,
She's
well, she's
manic.
so much more than that because Paul Dano doesn't seem to address the issue at all.
I'm not defending Steve. Damn it! I almost said Steven. Like I know the guy. I'm not defending Mr. Spielberg, but the one thing I will tell you is the way that Michelle Williams played Steven Spielberg's mother
Yeah,
is, by all accounts, the way that she was.
that's
Um,
scary
yeah, and yeah,
because that's
um,
loopy as shit.
yeah, and also throughout this movie, there's an undercurrent of why she is that way, and there's a reason why she's that way. And there are things about watching this movie today. There are things about this movie that piss me off,
Yeah,
like greatly. But
yeah.
I understand why Steven put those things in there because those things actually happened. So
Yeah.
he's not gonna lie about it. But I love the way that he went about doing that. But if you don't know a little bit about Steven Spielberg and his real life, then the character played by Michelle Williams will possibly come off as a little bit wooden and a little bit cartoonish. But Michelle Williams is, for the lack of a better word, inhabiting the essence of Steven Spielberg's mother, according to his recollections.
Yeah, but nobody in the movie ever addressed that she's, like, weird. Like, nobody. Everybody just went, "Oh, that's just her," but she was not right.
Yeah,
She wasn't right, and I was like, yeah, and Paul Dano, yeah, that he's another fucking
yeah,
anyway, so they they decide to move to Arizona because Paul Dano's got a new job, and the mum, Mitzi, which is Michelle Williams,
yeah,
asks her husband if their
yeah.
business partner can come with them, Benny, Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen has no fucking business being in this movie at all. As soon as I saw his face, I was like, why are you here? Why are you in this movie? Why are you here? You have no business being in this movie. I just couldn't, I just don't like him. I don't like him. So anyway, I was like, oh my God. So anyway, they end up moving to Arizona, and then it goes to years later. Sammy is about 15 years old and he's in the Boy Scouts. He goes to a Boy Scout school, and Sammy is filming a short Western film with his other 15-year-old friends and family. And he shows his film, and it's like it's a Western film of like a carriage being like, the robber, like cops and robbers robbing the like stealing the money from like the rich girls, which are played by his like little sisters. Like it's a really cute film. And he shows the film to his Boy Scout school, and it's a hit, and they love it. And he even put special effects in it, which everybody was in awe about. They're like, oh my God, because this is the 50s, like, or the
Yep.
60s. Yeah, it was with 50s now. You don't do special effects. But the way that he explained that he did it, it was just like, he's got an eye. He just knows what works, and he knows about angles. He was never taught. He just knows what works and what doesn't work. And you can tell he takes filmmaking extremely seriously and wants it to be of the highest quality.
Magic
And
Man.
yeah, yeah, like, you can see that he's good at what he does, and he's a natural, basically.
Yeah.
So that was that.
Mhm. Yeah, I really really like that scene because there's something in writing that I particularly enjoy, and I think that Dean will back me up on this. We love setup and payoff.
Yes,
And,
yes.
yeah, and I absolutely love the moment when Steven Spielberg, or sorry, I'm gonna say that a lot in this movie, when when Sammy Fabelman is sitting in his closet and looking at the cut of the film that he put together for the Boy Scouts, which,
Mm.
just let me tell you that in the 50s, guys, you had to actually edit with actual film, and the whole process of
Yeah.
cutting out that looks exhausting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Like using a typewriter. It's like you can't fuck
yeah.
up.
And I'm like, God bless you, Steven Spielberg, for
Mm.
for editing Super 8 film, because essentially that's what he does for about 85% of this movie. But that's
Yeah.
not the point I want to make. So he's watching the Western film and he's realizing that the final climactic scene of the sheriff having the gunfight with the robbers is missing something. And he keeps playing it, he keeps rewinding it,
Oh, yeah.
backwards and forwards. And he's like, he comes to a point where he goes, fake. And I'm like, fake. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
fake. What's the problem? And the next scene is Mitzi practicing for a recital. And she gets to a point where, Bert, who is played by Seth Rogen,
Benny.
says, Benny, sorry, Benny, thank you. Benny
Mm.
says, can you hear that? And it's her nails. They're too fucking long. So there's this whole scene where, you know,
Oh, yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
But Michelle Williams steps on her recital notes and she leaves a hole in it. And Sammy picks it up and he looks at it and he realizes if he punches holes into the film, exactly at the points when the sheriff and the robbers are shooting at each other, that'll make a spark like actual bullets. Who would think of
Yeah.
that shit?
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody.
that's awesome. That is
Nobody.
awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. That scene to me just shows the ingenuity that Sammy Fabelman had at that time, and it was just marvelous for me personally.
So Sammy and his dad are in the car, and Sammy is telling his dad about the new camera he bought. But don't worry, it's with his own money, it's fine. But he wants a new editing system to go along with the camera. And his dad is an engineer. He's all about reality. And his dad tells him, stop spending money on a hobby. It's a waste. And this really triggers Sammy, and rightly so. And his dad sees no real world value in filmmaking. He just thinks it's a waste of money. He needs to be an engineer. He goes, "Well, what are we sitting in? A car. An engineer designed it. What's that? An engineer designed it. The traffic lights, an engineer designed it." Like, you need to either be an engineer or do something that helps society. Filmmaking doesn't help anybody, which is a crock of shit. But him and his dad kind of have this, it's weird. They don't have a tumultuous relationship, but they disagree, and they have, like, I think, one argument. Like, I don't know, it's a weird dynamic because I felt like it needed to be more, but it wasn't. But anyway, that's that, and you go.
Yeah, I hated that scene because I multiple times in my life have been, you know, in that situation when I'm trying to explain my passion and how my passion can help other individuals out, but the individual that I'm speaking to wants me to go down another path or wants me to
Me
study
too.
something else, thinking that me studying that other thing will eventually, wake me up and make me want to join the workforce. And I'm like, no.
Mhm.
Sometimes people, some people in this world are built a certain way and they only want to do one thing. And
Yep.
just because making movies or writing movies in our case isn't the norm for everybody else, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
Mm.
Let me tell you something, guys. All those people that do those 9 to 5 jobs and do those jobs that help society need something to unwind and need something to make them feel happy and to make them feel sad or to make them feel glad, right? And who do you think that those that who do you think makes those things that make those other people happy? We
Oh
do.
my god, that's such a good point.
We do.
Yeah. What do
So
people do when they're stressed or anxious or whatever it is? They sit down, they watch a movie, right? They watch
yeah,
television. They
yeah.
create. Oh my god, that's so true.
We
Yes. We do
we
that.
we make magic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
come on.
We give you
Like
an alternate reality so you can
exactly.
relax.
Exactly. So
That's true.
so so for that reason, I had a giant problem with the way that Sammy's father, Paul Dano, wasn't able to understand the wasn't able to understand the value of what Sammy wanted to accomplish and wasn't able to understand that although it's not the typical thing that an individual does, that
Mm.
has value to society.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So next scene is Sammy's grandmother dies, and
Mhm.
I had a big problem with this. I had a massive problem with this. His dad buys him the editing machine that he wanted, and he's like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." But then he goes, "Okay, basically I'll give it to you, but I want you to do something for me first." In the previous scene, which was a short scene, they went on a camping trip and his mum was acting like a fucking loophole, like she is. And Benny was there, Seth Rogen was there, and I was like, well, fuck's he there? You find out later why he's there. They just had a nice time, and then Michelle Williams does this weird dance in with his see-through sequins on because she's not all there, but apparently the dad thinks it's fine. Yeah, that's just the dad. Paul Dano is just so Just doesn't understand. So after the weird camping trip, um, he gets him the editor and he says, "Look, I got you this editor machine, the one that you wanted, but I need you to do something for me. So basically, I got this for you, so you will do something for me." And Sammy goes, "Okay, what do you want me to do for me?" And he goes, "I want you to make a camping trip movie for your mum to make her feel better." And you think, "Oh, well, that's really nice." And he goes, "But I want you to do it as soon as possible." And Sammy goes, "Yeah, I've got a filming obligation this weekend, but I can do it after that." And his dad just goes, "No, you have to do it like tomorrow, today, now." And he goes, "No, I've got like 40 people coming this weekend. I've organized it. Everything's done." He goes, "No, no, no, I don't care about that. You need to do this now to make your mum feel better." And I was squirming because I thought, you're a piece of work, mate. You're an absolute piece. His dad doesn't give a shit about his film career. His dad doesn't give a shit about the editor. His dad doesn't really give a shit about him. He wants him to do what he wants him to do. And he doesn't care what Sammy wants to do. And it's only a hobby anyway. So he's like, "Well, you can just fuck off what you're doing to do what I'm asking you to do." And it's like, "I brought you this, now do this for me." And I just thought, are you kidding me? And then his dad gets all bent out of shape, like, "Oh, I'm just asking you to do this one thing for your mom." And I'm like, are you listening to yourself? Like the parents in this movie, if they are fact, like not embellished, but if they are fact, Steven Spielberg's parents, I feel sorry for him.
Look, that scene annoyed the shit out of me because the fact that Sammy's dad got him the editing machine that he wanted simply to allow him to blackmail Sammy into doing a camping trip video to make his mother feel better really fucking pissed me off. They're like it really set me ablaze. By all accounts, Steven Spielberg's dad loved his mother so much that he just wanted to be with her so much, and he saw her weirdness and he saw what was really going on, but he I feel bad saying this, but he was a good man, but he he was emotionally not strong enough to leave her because he loved her so much. And
Yeah.
look. To put it bluntly, he was a weak man. Um,
Yeah. No, he
and
was. He
and
was.
and that and and I think that that informs Paul Dano's performance based on uh, Spielberg's recollection, and also Spielberg's dad went through war as well, so I believe that Steven Spielberg's dad knew what was happening around his wife, and he just, in a way, he's like me. He doesn't want to rock the boat. Like he doesn't have uh energy to do that. The best way that he knows how to deal with the problem is by working all the time, by
Yeah.
providing for his family, and by
Yeah.
asking his son to do certain things.
Yeah.
But I
He doesn't
think,
see the truth.
yeah, no, he look. He. I think he see. I think in the back of his mind he knows it, but he doesn't
Yeah.
want to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's where his issue comes from,
Yeah.
and I think that's where you're tripping up here.
I do I agree with what you're saying, but I can't connect. I can't connect to him. I can't. The mum's a loot ball. The dad, you've got kids. I get you love your wife. You have kids. You want your kids to be raised by this woman because you love her so much. Like, no, like she needs therapy. She needs to get help. You
Okay, but
know,
okay, but okay, but why is she a loophole? Why is she acting the way that she
that's what
acts?
I
I want to.
mean. There's no
But
backstory
why?
on either of them. You don't know. You never know why.
Why?
And that's what pissed me off. And you don't know why
You
Paul Dano is like how he is. There's no fucking
okay?
backstory.
Okay. All right. I am going to give you a possible explanation that you're not going to accept, but I'm going to give it to you anyway.
Is this from
The
the movie or
reason
is this your opinion?
it's my opinion, and I think that Steven Spielberg I think that Steven Spielberg hung all of his mother's behavior on this simple fact.
Okay, go.
And you could and you could see it in the movie. It wasn't spelled out, but you could see it.
Okay, go.
I think that Mitzi loved Paul Dano's character, Spielberg's mother, but loved uh, um, Benny, right?
Yeah,
Benny
yeah,
more, and she didn't know what to do. So she was stuck. All her fucking weird behavior and the fact that she fucking flipped the fuck out when Paul Dano got a job in in uh in Arizona,
yeah.
and and he said that your best friend isn't coming with us, and she flipped out and she took her kids and she drove into a fucking tornado. All her behavior was centered around the fact that she loved the best friend of her husband, and that was her happiness, and that is what she was clinging on to, and that's what made her such a fucking loon.
You don't become a loon because of that. Because you're married to someone and you're in love with someone else. She had some sort of mental illness that was never addressed. She did. Because that's not how people act in those situations. She lived in a fantasy land,
I
and
understand.
that's mental illness.
I understand that, but I'm trying to give you a reason. I'm trying to wrap around a logical reason from what Steven Spielberg showed us in the film, but he didn't explain.
But he should
That's what I'm
have. That's my problem. It's Steven Spielberg. Fucking explain your
yes.
shit. You have no reason not to
Yes.
explain your shit. You're a good enough filmmaker that you should have, and you didn't. So I understand what you're saying, but it should have
Okay.
been in the movie. Otherwise, why is she like this and why is the dad like this? I don't know why they're
Oh,
like that.
okay.
So
Okay.
I
Okay.
didn't
Oh,
get it.
okay.
I didn't get it.
Okay. Okay. All valid reasons. But for some reason, he just didn't want to do that. I listen, if I was writing this movie, I would have done it a completely different way, but that's just me.
Yeah, 100%. But
uh
the next scene
yeah.
is even more fucking weird
What do you mean?
because Sammy's grandfather
Yeah.
visits out of no
Mhm.
like I don't even know who the fuck he is. He just comes and visits and
No,
he's
that's
very
that,
intense.
yeah, no, that's Steven Spielberg's uncle, and the reason why he visits is because his sister just died.
Yeah, 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 right. Yeah, no, I know that's why he visits, but there's been no mention
Yeah,
of him prior.
yeah.
And he's very intense. And for
Mhm.
some reason, they put him in Sammy's room, which is really fucked up. And he basically gives Sammy the weirdest pep talk I've ever seen about his future
It
film career. And then
it's
Sammy is
not
confused, and then he leaves. And then we never see
it,
him again in the movie.
it's not weird.
It's totally weird. It was 10
It's
minutes of
weird.
this guy
It's
rambling.
it's weird, but it serves a purpose. The whole movie, Sam's father, for reasons, has been ragging on him about how to get a job and how to get a fucking how to get a vocation that helps society, right?
Yes.
But Sammy's grandfather comes in and explains to him that he has something in his soul that calls out to him, and no matter what he does, that thing is what sets him apart from everybody else, and that any regardless of what anybody says about that thing in his heart, he has to chase it because he has to do it. Like this is Sammy Fabelman's come to Jesus moment.
I understand the pep talk.
Yeah.
Fine. What I
Okay.
don't understand is the
Yep.
scene because it was writer's convenience. It was this guy who we
Mhm.
don't know has come in for one scene, has pushed the story forward, and then we never see him again. That's what I don't
Let
like.
me let me ask you this.
It was just a slot in because to move the story forward.
Okay, let me ask you this. If his arrival was teased in the film, would you have accepted it more?
If he was in the film, a little bit more and we knew him, yes. But he literally came in a cab and then the next morning left. And we didn't see him interact with really anybody else but him. So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
yeah, I didn't the way that they did it, I didn't like it. Yes, the pep talk made him do it, but he was so intense though. That's what I mean. Like if you haven't seen this movie, it's a very weird it's the weirdest pep talk I've ever seen. And Sammy actually is like a bit afraid and he kind of doesn't know what
Yeah.
to think. And yeah,
No, I
it does spur him on, but it's just really weird.
no, I really love the pet talk because I correlated it to wanting to be a writer and wanting to sort of have that inner battle within myself of trying to do what was expected of me and what other people wanted me to do, but having this urge to tell stories and having that inner battle within myself. But seeing the scene with Sammy and his weird uncle in the room
Mm.
that wasn't set up at all, that came out of nowhere, just speaks to me because he's a guy that left his family, that ruined his friendship with his sister because he needed to 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 join the circus, to join Los Angeles, to be a creative individual. If
Yeah.
he didn't do that, he was going to die inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is us. I understand that it's out of nowhere and Steven Spielberg should have done better along with his screenplay writer Kushner, which is he's a great screenplay writer. But
Mm.
there are a lot of things in this movie that don't make sense. And you just have to
No, but that's the thing. We're
yeah, that's
reviewing it from a
it,
screenwriter's
right,
perspective.
right,
So if it doesn't
right,
make
right, right,
sense,
right. That's the problem. That's the problem.
that's the
I,
problem.
I get that. I get that. You got there. You got there before I did.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
That's the
yeah,
problem.
yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't work. That's the
That's the
problem.
problem. So the next scene is
Mhm.
Sammy is going through the footage of what he shot at the camping trip because he's trying to make the compilation that his dad asked him to make for his mum. And he notices his mum and Benny, and they in the background of some shots, and they don't know they're being filmed. And in one shot, they're holding hands, and tries to put his arm around her waist, and she kind of puts it away, and they look longingly into each other's eyes. And Sammy's face is just like, "What the
What the
fuck?" Like he can
fuck?
tell instantly something is going on between Benny and the mum, and that kind of propels the story forward a little bit. Although, yeah, see, this is the problem I have with this story. It's like I get it's about Steven Spielberg's life, but it's all over the place. Is it about the mum? Is it about the dad? Is it about Sammy and his filmmaking? Is it about the mum having an affair? Not because she doesn't have an affair. Is it about the mum and Benny? Like, what is the crux of the story? Because I feel like it goes from Sammy, it goes to the mum. Do you know what I mean? Like it flips back and forth.
Okay. Okay. I will tell you what this movie's about. Okay.
Okay.
This movie is about Spielberg's passion about becoming a filmmaker, but this movie is also about his mom's affair with his husband's best friend and how that informed Steven Spielberg's filmmaking for decades. That's what this movie is about. Two
Okay.
things.
Okay. Okay.
Two
Yep.
things. I understand that it's disjointed, but I really think that it would help people to know a little bit about Steven Spielberg before watching this movie because I'm spoiled because like I said, Steven Spielberg is my second favorite director on the planet, and
Mm.
I know I'm an encyclopedia of Steven Spielberg, his films and his personal life. So for me, seeing what Steven was trying to say was not a problem, but for you as someone who doesn't, um, that can be a bit of a problem, as I
But
see.
that's the thing. If you
Yeah,
make a
that's the problem.
movie,
That's the
yeah, you
problem.
can't expect it's like if you make a movie on some existing IP and then people watch it and the people that know the existing IP, they're like, "Oh, I get it," but everybody else doesn't
Yeah,
get it. It's lost on them. You
yeah,
can't do
yeah.
that because not
That's
everybody I should not
that's the
have
problem.
to know diddly dick about
Can I?
Steven Spielberg's life to like this movie.
Okay. Can I just ask you one thing, and then we can get to the
Yes,
rest of
of
this movie?
course. Of course.
If Steven Spielberg asked you, "Hey Dean, I want to do a story about my life and how my parents' affair informed my filmmaking for years to come. How would you have pitched a possible script where you would help him write the film? How would you have done it?
Well, I wouldn't have because it's not horror. I would have gone,
Oh,
go to the next
okay,
person.
okay, but regardless of that fact, how would you have
Um,
done?
I would have put more. I will. First of all, the movie's far too long. There's a lot of shit in the movie that doesn't need to be in it. I would focus solely on Sammy and
And
him as a
Spielberg
creative, and his um life.
journey,
On his journey of filmmaking, how he got into it. Like the first scene, the opening scene with the train crash on the movie, and then him making movies, and then him trying to understand how to edit, blah blah blah. And then obviously later on he goes to school. I would just focus on him and his filmmaking journey. All the family stuff, you can have family stuff sprinkled on top, but it shouldn't be the main thing unless it directly impacts his filmmaking. I would just stick to him and everything else. If there's family dynamics, I don't care. It's just about him. That's what I would do.
okay. I will counter with this one point, and then we can move forward.
Okay.
I think the affair that his mother had impacted the way that Steven Spielberg physically makes and made 99% of his films. But
Why?
here's the
How?
thing. Here's the thing. To know that and to understand that, you really have to look at his films. Because
See?
Steven,
Again.
okay, one last thing, and then I swear we can move forward.
Yeah.
Steven strategically put the pain that his father made him feel in his films, but you really have to look at it. It's like it's in there, but it's underneath all the popcorn and all the shit.
Yeah. This
But
Fabelmans should have been a home movie for him and his family. It shouldn't have been
right,
released to the public because the public are usually people like me and they don't get it. They don't
right,
they don't
right,
get it.
right. Okay, onward we go.
Onward. All right,
Onward.
Sammy's filming his next film, and it's a war film. At this time, he has a better camera, he has more people, he's figured out how to do practical effects, which is actually really, really cool when you see how
That's
he's
awesome.
doing it. So
So good.
awesome. And he makes a film dolly out of a stroller, which is
That's
so legit.
awesome.
This is what I mean,
Come
people.
on.
You can make a film. You don't need equipment. All you need is really a good camera, and you can make anything out of fucking anything, right? So,
Yeah.
and he proves it. And it's so cool how he goes about doing it. And now he speaks to one of the actors, one of the lead actors, who is a bit aloof. And he's trying to explain to him in detail what his character has done. You have caused all these deaths. And he goes into detail. This is how you feel. And the actor actually starts to cry because he's thinking about Sammy gets in his head, but which is what a good director should do with an actor.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
the actor actually starts to feel the way that the character is supposed to feel. But it shows that Sammy has the instinct. He has the emotion he can get that from his actors. He can get the emotion from his actors. He can get his actors in the headspace that he needs them to get. Not everybody can do that. Not all directors can do that. And him being 15 years old, the fact that he can do that shows that, and nobody taught him how to do that, shows that he's on his way to being like an amazing director. And he shows the film at his Boy Scout school, and it's a hit because it's even better than the West. Every movie he makes is better than the last one. And you can see his progression in his filmmaking. I wish the movie was just that. I really do. I really do. But that was a great scene.
Yeah, no, I look. I really love that scene because, like Dean just said, the sign of a good director is someone who can make the scene that he's about to shoot relatable to his actor, and the way that Sammy does that, or AKA Steven Spielberg does that, is fantastic. But I really think that at that point in the film's context, Sammy is drawing a lot from the revelation that his mother is cheating on his father with his father's best friend. So I think So I think multiple things are going
Mm,
through Sammy's head in that moment of how to
yeah.
reach this actor, how to get the final shot of the film. And I think that Sammy's emotion for what is going on in his real life gives him the power to communicate correctly what he wants from the actor in that moment. And even when Sammy shoots the final shot, Spielberg keeps it on Sammy. And there's a moment when Sammy just, you know, zones out for a second, and his second AD, or the guy who is handling the dolly, says, "Sammy, don't you think we should cut?" And then he wakes up and he
Mm.
says, "Cut!" And he says, "Stop walking!" Right. So I think, that scene works on multiple levels.
Yeah, it does, it does. So now Sammy's in the kitchen with his mum, and he keeps kind of yelling at her for just like random shit. And she starts yelling back, asking, like, why are you being this way? Why are you treating me this way? And she says, I'm your mother. And he says, I wish you weren't. And because
Oh,
he's all bent out of shape about the affair that he thinks is going on. So he turns around and she slaps him on the back, and she just goes, oh my fucking God. Like, she realizes that was just the wrong thing to do. He turns around with tears in his eyes. He goes into his room. She follows him and asks him, like, what is wrong? And so he pulls her into the cupboard where they first watched his train movie. And he shows her the footage of her and Benny because he edited it all together. And you can, and I I don't know if I like this or not, right? Because what Steven does is he what's his name? Sammy puts her in the closet and he closes the door and he plays the projector on the wall in the closet. And it's just this push in on Michelle Williams's face because we know what she's watching because we've already seen it before. We don't need to see it again. And it's just this push in. And Michelle Williams just does such a good job. And you
yeah.
can see her at first going, oh, yeah, what's this? And then her
Uh-uh.
face turns and you're like, oh, I know what she's seeing. Oh, I know what she's watching. And it just pushes in for like a minute or two. It's just one shot of pushing in. And Michelle Williams does such a good job. And
Yeah,
just
man.
that shot of just that, oh, what's this? And then you can see her emotions get lower and lower and lower and lower. And it's just it's a beautiful
It's
shot. And then
heartbreaking.
it's heartbreaking. And then she starts to sob. She comes out of the closet. And then this is what was really weird to me. He hugs her and he says he won't tell anyone. And I'm like, oh, what? So you're not angry anymore? Or what? So
No,
it's not
I
a
no,
problem anymore?
no, I think for him it's a problem, but I think that he is trying to, again, I'm not defending Sammy Fabelman for his choices, because if I was in this situation, I would have acted differently. But I
Yeah.
think Sammy is trying to be supportive and trying to understand that people make mistakes.
Yeah.
And Sammy is trying to give his mother comfort at this moment.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that.
Even look, even if he doesn't agree with it, because obviously he doesn't, because Stephen in real life blames this whole thing on his dad, not
Mm.
Michelle Williams.
Yeah. I get that too. I totally understand why he would do that too. If
Yeah,
the parents are accurate depictions, I totally get why he would blame his dad. So
yeah,
speaking of his dad gets another job in California, so they've got to move again. All this guy does is fucking uproot his family to he went from New Jersey to Arizona, from Arizona to California. And they all go with him because it's his job and he makes the money and, whatever. So, and that'll come back later. So they're moving to California. They're on the road. They're driving. When they pull over and the mum gets out and Sammy gets out and they walk a little bit away from the car and she tells him her and Benny never actually had an affair. They never actually did anything. It was all like, looky, looky, no touchy, touchy kind of thing. And it was all innocent. But, you know, Benny is clearly in love with the mum. And at this moment, you don't know how much the mum actually loves Benny, because in the footage of the camping trip, you can kind of see, but you can see it's more on Benny's side. Like, you can see there's for me, I could see Mitzi really did like Benny, but it's only until later that you realize she's actually deeply in love with Benny. So I kind of like that scene, kind of.
yeah. No, unlike you, I think that Mitzi's borderline psychotic behavior, let's call it that, really, really displays to me in between the lines that she actually really loves Benny by the fact that
Mm.
she just lights up when he's around, the fact that she
Yeah.
has that giant fight when they do the first move, and how she sort of blames Sammy's father for not including his best friend, because
Mm.
what she really wants is to have Benny there. She doesn't really care about about the job that he got and him uprooting the family. What she wants is Benny. That's what
Yeah.
she wants.
Yes. Yeah.
So for me at this point in the film, I'm thinking that she has reached a point of critical mass, and she's like, I'm miserable here. The whole my happiness is gone. And what the fuck am I doing? How am I going to handle this?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at that moment, she says, look, your father is a wonderful man. I love him. And I just don't have it in me. I don't have it in me to 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 let him go. I just don't. So what I'm
Mm.
going to do right now is I'm going to be the best mother that I can to you and and your sisters, and that's what I'm going to do,
Yes. Yeah.
because right now I have no other recourse and I don't know what to do.
Yes. Yep. Yep. I agree.
And I think that that's the emotion that Spielberg was trying to convey there.
That was one of the only scenes where I actually connected with Mitzi, where I thought she was actually a person. Most other scenes, I was like, you're not even being a person. But when she actually connected with her emotions, she was connectable. I think
Right.
she just is very flighty, and I couldn't really connect with that.
Yeah, yeah,
But
no,
anyway,
yeah. Like the first time I
yeah,
saw this movie, I'm like, wait a minute, because Michelle Williams. The first time I saw this movie, like my primary complaint was like, Michelle Williams, ratchet up to 10. I don't understand. And
yeah,
then I did some research, and I was like, oh, okay, this is why.
yeah, right. She did a
But
great job.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So now we're in Northern California, where where he's moved to the family, and it this movie is interesting because this movie it's like it's how do I explain it? It's like 3 different movies in one. It's like I don't know, nothing it doesn't
Really,
flow. Yeah,
it doesn't flow.
because he was at the Boy Scout school and everything was fine. And then he starts
Okay.
a new school in Northern California and suddenly there's a new subplot that goes along. There's a new racist, not racist, sorry. Yeah, there's a new is it racist? No, it's not. There's a new
No,
subplot going on of he gets picked on for being Jewish. They're bigots. And I'm like, "Oh, where'd
you
that come from?" That was no that and this is over an hour. This is an hour and 20 minutes into the movie. That the race no, it's not racism. What is it called? Fuck. What are they called?
bigotry.
Yeah. That was never addressed in the movie ever.
You
And
know
now
what this is?
suddenly it's the thing. And I'm like, "Oh, no, tell me."
You you know what this movie is? This
What?
movie is a greatest hits of Steven Spielberg's life,
It's
but
great experience.
but
You're so right. You're so
but
right.
but to understand it, you have to be a fanatic lover of Steven
Yes,
Spielberg,
yes.
the filmmaker, and you also have to have some understanding of his personal life, which I do,
Yes. Yes,
because
yes. I mean, yeah.
because I adore the man. So, but
Yeah.
that doesn't that doesn't make a good movie. So I think
No.
that's where Steven and his co-writer Kushner, which he's a great writer as well,
Mm.
made the mistake.
This movie is so disjointed. It doesn't flow at all. But you're right. It's his greatest hits jammed together. That's what it is.
Mhm.
It's like a home movie that he's like, "Oh, I'll just release it to the public and see what happens." So
It's
anyway, he gets picked on. Oh, sorry. Go for it.
just one more thing. It's
Yeah.
disjointed if you don't know a base understanding of what Steven Spielberg's childhood was like. But as an audience member, you shouldn't have to know that.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly.
that's another part of where Steven Spielberg failed.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, he's being picked on for being Jewish and he gets beaten up. And then he's just not doing well in school. And then he
Yeah.
goes home and his dad is like, "What happened? I'll help you." And he's like, "You," and Sammy's like, "You never help anybody. You never do anything." And he
Okay.
blasts his dad for moving them there. And they
Okay.
always move for him. Hold on, hold on. They always
Uh,
move, sorry. They always move for him and they never get a choice. And he doesn't care if they're happy. He only cares if he's happy. Sorry. Go for it.
no, I'm sorry for stepping all over you there. This is the moment that should have happened an hour ago.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I am so happy that Sammy finally called his father out on all his bullshit. But in that same regard, I kind of feel bad for his father because his father loved Mitzi so much and he loved his family so much. So he coped with the situation the best way he could. It wasn't the right way, but it
Yeah.
was the only way that he knew how to do it. And I loved in this moment when Sammy throws all the shit in front of his face, which is warranted, but I love the fact that Paul Dano tried to justify his handling of their entire life. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this is great, but this only works if you know a little bit about Steven Spielberg's real life. It only works that way. And
Yeah. Which is why it didn't work.
and yeah, and but I will say the way that the way that Mitzi or Michelle Williams breaks up the fight is great. She gets up on the piano and she goes, "I'm in therapy."
Yeah, that was so she's in the background. I'm in therapy, and they just stop and look at her. Like that
Yeah,
was funny.
that was whoop.
That was funny.
But off you go. I'm sorry for interrupting you there. Off you go.
No, 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 all good, all good. So Sammy ends up meeting a girl at school, and she's a Catholic girl, and obviously he's Jewish,
Yeah.
who tries to get him to believe in Jesus. And he goes along with and it's so funny because he goes along with it because he's 16 and a boy, and he's like, "Fuck yeah, I'll go along with it. Yeah, I'll believe in Jesus, I'll believe in whatever the fuck you want me to believe in." But they're actually a really cute couple, and she really does like him, and she asks him to film Ditch Day. At school after an awkward family meeting where she meets him. She goes to his house and the family is just, I don't know, like if someone new, like if you're bringing someone home to meet your family, usually, I mean, I'm hoping that families don't act too fucking weird, but his family is so weird that it's like she's not even there and they're just their normal weird selves, and she doesn't mind though. He more minds than what she minds, but it's just an awkward family meeting. She's laughing it off, and Sammy's like, "Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed." I would be embarrassed too because it's a fucking weird meeting. And then the next scene is really short. He just films Ditch Day at the beach, which is a really fun scene, but there's not much to it. He just films everybody at the beach. That's it.
Yeah, no. There is something to it. But I'm, I'm just gonna say this scene didn't need to be in the movie, but this scene did serve a purpose. The only thing I would have done this a different way. I would have had Sammy volunteer to film Ditch Day without the girl, because the girl served well, she served kind of a purpose later on. Um,
Nothing in this movie serves a purpose. You know why? Because it's Steven Spielberg's life and he's like, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. You could take half the characters out of this movie, condense it into an hour and a half, and it would make more sense.
this is how I viewed it. Dean mentioned a little while ago that it made no sense that all of a sudden Spielberg was dealing with bullies and he was dealing with this anti-Semitic asshole that was calling him a Jew and basically was calling him
Anti-Semitic. That's what it was.
anti-Semitic, anti-Semitic.
Thank you so much.
The
Yeah, sorry.
look, the magic of a good filmmaker, in my mind, is someone who can take someone who is an absolute asshole in real
Mm,
life and make him into a hero. Someone who can take something absolutely awful and
yeah,
make it funny and make it relatable, right?
yeah. So the next scene, okay. Sammy's parents sit the kids down and they decide to get a divorce. Now, this scene spun me the wrong way until
Really?
later on,
Okay.
and I kind of spun back
Okay.
because the mum says, "Oh, I just miss Benny too much." And I was like, "Are you Are
You
are
you
you
were
kidding me?
so you were ready to throw across the room.
And I'll tell you why. And I'm like, "You have 4 kids under the age of 18, and you're willing to either move away from them to be with Benny, or is willing to take the kids and move the kids away from their father. Or so you're willing to disrupt your entire fucking family because you miss Benny too much. There are priorities here, babe. And what you're doing is not really one of them. And the thing is, Paul Dano, the dad, doesn't even seem to give a shit that she's in love with his best friend. He has no reaction. He's just like, oh, okay, well, your mother, and don't give me this crap of he loves her so much he wants her to be with someone else. What the fuck? This dad is so wooden. I was like, to have no reaction at all. He could be happy because fuck this chick. He could be sad because I love her and now she's not going to be with him. No reaction. And the kids have a fit, which is fucking valid. They have a fit because you're breaking up the family. And now the kids, they don't know what to do. Do I go back to Arizona and live with Benny, or do I stay in California and live with the dad? Like, she's breaking up the whole family because she's a nut job. Yeah, I was a bit annoyed. I was a bit annoyed. As you can, I'm a bit bitter about that scene. But
Yeah,
you tell me
bitter.
what you think.
Look, I've already
Look.
said it.
Like,
Look, girlfriend.
I'm so like, fuck her, and you're like, okay, look. Very calm.
Look, girlfriend.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg's father in real life was very timid. He is me. He doesn't want confrontation, right? So
Yeah.
anything that Mitzi does, he's gonna go along with because he's not a person that will go up to Mitzi and physically assault her, physically scream at her, because he knows what brought this on. He knows it because he's been living in a fucking hell for who knows how long because he isn't strong enough to speak up for what he wants. He's not a confrontational type of person. That being said,
Yeah.
the fact that Mitzi, the character, is willing to disrupt her entire family for the love of Benny, really fucking pissed me off, and it really made me want to fucking whack this bitch across the room, because you don't do that. You have 4 fucking kids who need your help, and you're the mother, and you need to show a bit of responsibility. Like
Yeah.
that is uncalled for. And the fact that Spielberg's sister, or Sammy's sisters, were blindsided by this is a bunch of bullshit. And if you look at the scene,
Yeah.
Spielberg actually just shot it. I love the way he shot it. That while it's happening, Sammy is sort of like just sitting there and watching it, but he doesn't really do anything. And the reason why he doesn't do anything is because he knows everything, and
Yeah.
he doesn't know how to process, and that's why. And that is the most disturbing and shocking thing. And I'm like, wow, this gave birth to the underlying theme of all of Steven Spielberg's movies in the early part of his career. But to understand that, you have to be a student of Steven Spielberg as a filmmaker and as a person, which I am. And Gene is not. And also, there are ways that you could make this movie work. But the fact that
Of
Steven
course there
Spielberg,
are.
look,
There's a myriad of ways.
look. The fact that Steven Spielberg thought that just making a movie about a kid wanting to be a filmmaker, and how his real life informed the movies that he made, is all well and good, but you shouldn't have to be a student of Steven Spielberg to enjoy this movie. But you have to be, because
look,
look, one more thing, you have to read between the lines, and you shouldn't have to do that
yeah, I know.
in a film. And
I know.
I think that's where Steven Spielberg failed. But off you go.
Look, I understand what you're saying about the father, and yes, that's true, but I need why is he like that? That's what I need
Right,
why,
right, right, right,
and I don't
right,
know
right,
why.
right, right.
Steven's just like, "This is the character," and I'm like, "But what is the reasoning why behind why is he like that? Was it
Why?
his
Why? Yeah.
upbringing? Like, what's going on?" That's what
Yeah,
I was
well, yeah,
missing.
yeah. You're missing the why. If let me ask you let me ask you something. If
Yeah.
Steven or Kushner gave you the why, would you have been more accepting of his behavior
Yeah,
of
of course, and with her
okay,
and with the mum as well.
okay, okay, give us the why. Okay, all right.
So, the next scene. It's a really nice sweet scene between Sammy and one of his younger sisters, and she asks why he's not upset about the whole Benny thing, and
Mhm,
he says that mum has always been selfish. And then she
mhm.
says to him, "You know, you're just like her and you don't even know it." And that's and no, but the thing is, I don't agree. I haven't in regards to Sammy this whole movie, I haven't seen selfish behavior from him.
No,
So
he's
I don't
not
know,
selfish at all.
right, so I don't get it.
You know what he is? He's loyal.
Yeah, he's loyal, but that scene was set up as what was supposed to be like a bombshell. Like, the reason
Mhm,
you don't like mum is because you're just like her, which is valid in real life. The people that
yeah.
we hate the most are the people that we kind of are more like, and that's why you butt heads. But the fact is, he's not like his mum. There's nothing to say
No,
that
he's
he's
not.
like his mum, so I don't understand.
But the reason that his sister is acting like that is because she doesn't know that Sammy knew everything that was going on. But the only reason that he's acting this way is because he said to his mom, "I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to say anything," and that includes his sisters, which kind of
Yeah,
which kind of pisses me off. But
yeah,
again, he's loyal.
yeah, yeah. So Sammy shows his ditch day film at prom. He's gone to prom with the girl, with his girlfriend, and everybody loves it. But
Yep.
the bully. Because as Marcelo touched on before, the bully that beat him up, when he filmed him in Ditch Day, he filmed him like a god. And in the film, it shows the bully basically like a god, like a good guy, like the hero. And yeah, he just made him look good. And this scene was really interesting to me. It didn't even, I don't know. I don't know if I got it or not.
Okay, go ahead.
Sammy goes to step out into the hallway because his girlfriend has just broken up with him. And the bully comes out into the hallway, follows Sammy, and he gets in his face and he said, "Why did you do that?" And Sammy's like, "Why did I do what?" And he goes, "Why did you make me look like a hero when I'm not?" Because the gist that I got out of it was he knows he's an asshole and he knows he doesn't deserve to be shown in that light. That's what I got out of it. And he doesn't understand why Sammy would portray him as something that he's not. And then the bully kind of breaks down. The only thing I could surmise from that scene, because it was really fucking weird, was that the bully has insecurities and he doesn't understand, like, what? So I treated you like shit and you're making me look good. And then he starts crying and then he leaves. I didn't get it.
Sp-
That's what I thought.
I
I didn't get it.
I look. The thing that
Explain.
that yes, explain now, Spielberg Shalom. Just make
No,
it make
I
sense.
don't get it.
the the I think that Sammy unwillingly showed the bully through film that everybody has two sides. Everybody
Mm,
has the angel and the demon inside of them, and every person on the face of the earth is capable of goodness and is capable of doing the right thing. And Steven Spielberg, the universe gave him a beautiful gift.
mm,
He is able to make the most wretched people on the planet
mm,
into he's able to make the most wretched people or the wretched he's able to make the most wretched character in real life seem like a hero in film. He's able to show him that he's capable of being good. It's just up
mm,
to him to take that
mhm,
step.
mhm,
So unwillingly I think that Sammy showed the bully that he is capable of being a better individual. All that he has to do is to take the next step and to get away from the anti-Semitic asshole
Yeah.
that Sammy had fun with
Yeah.
in the short
Yeah,
as
yeah, the
well.
other guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
again, the magic of Steven Spielberg is the ability to make people understand that there are two sides to every human being on the planet, and there's always a better way. There's always a way to find the inner light within yourself. You just have to be
Mm.
willing to go there.
Yeah,
How
I just
about
didn't
that?
understand the bully's issue
No,
because
no, yeah, no, no,
he
no,
had a really big issue
yeah,
with it, and
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
"Dude."
Yeah, look. The reason that he had a big issue is because he knows that it was the wrong thing to do, but he wasn't willing to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Steven showed him the person that he can be if he acknowledged it.
Yeah. It's just a weird scene.
Yeah,
Just for me, it was weird.
yeah.
Okay, the next scene. Sammy's talking with his mum, and she tells him she has to go be with Benny because she's
Oh,
losing herself. Yeah, I know. She has to be with Benny because she's losing herself and she wouldn't be the best version if she stayed. Why can't Benny move
you know
there?
what? You know what? You know what? That's what I was saying. Why the fuck can't Betty move there? But off you go.
Right, but and this is the best piece of dialogue in the whole fucking 2.5 hour, 2 hour and fucking 40-minute movie. This is the best piece of dialogue. And she says, I have to go with my heart. Yeah, sorry, this is the dialogue. You do what your heart says you have to because you don't owe anyone your life, not even me.
Oh, that's
And I went,
great.
that's the best piece of dialogue in this movie because this was the only thing I could connect with in the movie, this dialogue, because this had so much truth behind it. And
Yeah.
that's when I understood why she was doing what she was doing. I didn't agree with what she was doing, but I understood what she was doing. That's what I mean. Like I was like, fuck you, bitch. And then in this scene, I was like, oh, the way that she's explaining it, I kind of understand. I don't agree, but I kind of understand. So I
It
really
took
did like, and it's one of the only scenes where she's normal. So I liked
it
it.
took too long.
It took way too long.
It took way too long.
Yeah, way too long.
Steven should have made her even if she wasn't like that in real life, um, when you're a writer or a director and you do something based on real people, there is this thing called artistic license.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and you use that to make the best fake version of the real person
Yeah.
to serve the story that you want to tell. And you
Yeah.
have to um uh, 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 do some adaptation and some tweaking here and there. The problem with this movie is that initially Steven didn't want to do this movie. It was Kushner's idea uh, uh, to to bring this story to the screen because he thought it would be a way of release for Steven Spielberg, and he
Mm.
thought that he could make it relatable to other people. But again, as I've been saying through this whole thing, it's relatable to other people, but it's only relatable to the other people who love Steven Spielberg and who know stuff about Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than that, there's a way that you could write this movie to do everything that Steven wanted to do, but to make it relatable to people who don't know anything about Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's where I think he failed. But actually, I love that moment with Mitzi in the kitchen and Spielberg. Sorry, I keep saying Spielberg, but Spielberg is Spielberg.
Yeah.
Spielberg in the kitchen, and that's the best line of the movie.
It is. It is. So now we go to 1 year later and we're in Los Angeles. And Sammy lives with his dad now. And I thought this was really weird because he lives with his dad. His dad's an engineer. His dad's got heaps of money, but his dad lives in like a shitty apartment in Los Angeles, which I thought was really fucking weird. Like, don't you
Yeah.
have all this fucking money? Anyway, other than that, he tells him he wants to quit college. And it's just not for him. He tried because his dad was like, give it a couple of years. And he goes, look, I tried. It's not for me. I don't want to do it. He's having a fucking panic attack when he walks in the door because he doesn't know how he's going to tell his dad. And he goes, I keep sending out letters to TV and movie, stations and studios, and I keep getting back fucking
Yeah.
nothing. I just want my foot in the door, but he never hears
Yeah.
anything back. And his dad basically hands him a letter, and it's from CBS.
Yeah.
And Sammy goes, oh my God. And it says, come in. And he goes in and he has a meeting with someone at CBS. And he goes, and the guy has a meeting with, he goes, you don't want to do TV, do you? You want to do movies? And he goes, yeah, but I just want to get my foot in the door. So I'll do anything, which is what you do. You would do anything just to get your foot in the door. He doesn't care. And he goes, how would you like to meet, the best director of all time, or however he puts it? And he puts Sammy in an office. And he sits him down with the receptionist, and he goes, oh, he'll be back in a second. And Sammy meets with, I think it's his favorite director, although it was never said that this guy is his favorite director. I don't even know who the director is, to be honest, because it was never really stated. Who is an asshole?
Yeah. But it's the guy who wrote the Wagon Train, the film that Sammy and his troop watch before they make the film called The Gringo.
Yes, but that was the only reference to him. I wish there had been more I wish he would have had posters up in his room. I wish he would have been talking about this director. It only comes up once when him and his friends see the movie, and it's so far into the beginning that by the time you meet this director at the end, you've forgotten. It should have been weaved in and out, so it was more of a bigger hit for Sammy. Because for me, I was like, oh, I don't know who this guy is. And then I'm like, oh, I think it was the movie that he saw. But it was never mentioned that he likes this guy, ever. It was not mentioned. And he goes into his office, and this guy's an asshole. He's just he goes, why do you want to get into the movie business, kid? It'll tear you apart. And I'm just like, that's not what a 16-year-old wants to hear. Can you be a little bit more fucking positive? Like, you've had this amazing career. Don't be a dick. And then he says to him, look at a painting on the wall. And he goes, what do you see? This is the piece of advice that he gives him. When the horizon is below, it's interesting. When the horizon is above, it's interesting. When the horizon is in the middle, it's boring. Now get the fuck out of my office. And I'm like, and Sammy walks out, and then he walks out onto the lot, and then that's it. That's the end of the movie. And I'm like, oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
that actually happened to Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make a good movie. Look.
No. It doesn't.
Look. I love this movie, but the reason why I love this movie is because I love Steven Spielberg, the filmmaker, and I love Steven Spielberg, the man. But I really think that Steven Spielberg and Steven Kushner, right? His name is Steven Kushner, right?
Tony
Kushner. Yes, Tony Kushner should have thought about the general audience and been like, okay, we want to tell this movie about Steven Spielberg's life, but how are we going to do that in a way where you don't need to know a lot about Steven Spielberg or his personal life? And I think that they failed spectacularly, as much as I love this movie.
Most people that see this movie will not know the amount that you know about him. 95% of people will not have a clue what the fuck is going on. And that doesn't make a good movie. It makes a good movie for people like you who like him, but for people like me who like him but don't research him and don't love him, it doesn't work. It didn't work for me. All right. Seth Rogen said that Steven Spielberg was crying a lot on set due to the story being of his life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. This was funny. The scene where the bully confronts Sammy, and I was like, what the fuck is this scene? In the film was a real experience that Steven Spielberg had. Years later, when he made Duel, the bully called him and congratulated him. And this is what I find funny. Steven asked him what he was doing now, and the bully said he became a police officer. Because of course he fucking did. Fuck.
Wow.
Of course you fucking did. Anyway. The films Sammy shot were the exact films that Steven shot when he was young. And it's funny because Steven actually said the Western film, the war film, and there was a sci-fi film that they didn't put in, which they should have, but they
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah, it's a Firefly, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a short
It
film.
the way that Steven shot it now was like the way that he filmed, obviously he filmed it with equipment we have now, but he was showing how he did it. And that's exactly how he did it, and that's exactly the shots that he did, like shot for shot
Yeah.
of the
Pretty
film. He
cool,
just
right?
did it. And he goes, I love doing it because I could correct like what I did wrong when he was like 15.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's
"Oh, that's
great.
pretty good. That's quite therapeutic." But that's it. That's my trivia. That's my trivia. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, look, guys. On that note, if you guys like what we do here at all, and you want to reach out to us with any comments, concerns, or questions, you can email us at the mixtape podcast at AOL.com. But if you're going to come back next week, the next film on our docket is a film called Planet Nine from Outer Space. So that one looks like it's going to be a roll in the hay. But a roll in hay, I don't know where the hell that came from. But um, on that weird note, I will uh, I will bring this episode. I will bring this edition of our show to its natural conclusion by saying what I always say: if someone is kind enough to ever make you a mixtape, that must truly mean that they love you.
The Mixtape Podcast is a Balloonhead Productions presentation.